regular meeting of the Council of the City of Springdale for May 1st, 2024. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Brown, if you could take roll.
Mr. Gleaves.
Present.
Mr. Jacobs.
Present.
Ms. McFarland.
Present.
Mrs. Sullivan-Wisecup.
Present.
Mr. Vanover.
Present.
Mrs. Webster. Mr. Anderson.
Present. All right, next up we have the minutes from the April 17th meeting in your packet.
Move to adopt. Sorry.
All right, any additions or corrections? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The minutes are approved with 7 affirmative votes. All right, next up we have a couple proclamations. I believe we turn over to Mayor Hawkins for Building Safety Month.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will read the proclamation and we'll have our department heads come forward at the appropriate time. Whereas the City of Springdale is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential role of the homes and buildings that serve our citizens, both in everyday life and in times of disaster. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of the buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety officials, fire prevention officials, designers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings and enforce modern building codes, which protect the public from hazards such as snowstorms, tornadoes, floods, and earthquakes where we live, learn, work, and play. And whereas Building Safety Month is to remind the public about the critical role of our community's largely unknown protectors of public safety, our local building and code officials, who assure us of safe, sustainable, and livable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas Building Safety Month encourages all citizens to raise awareness about the importance of safe and dependable construction. And whereas each year, in observance of Building Safety Month, people all over the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local building departments in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, I, Lawrence C. Hawkins III, Mayor of the City of Springdale, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 Building Safety Month. Come forward. And one more proclamation, Mr. President. Whereas in 1962, President John F. Kennedy proclaimed May 15th of each year as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week of each year during which May 15th occurs as Police Week. And whereas in the United States, there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across our great country, including 34 full and part-time officers and 7 support staff within our own department. And whereas more than 23,785 law enforcement officers have made the ultimate sacrifice and have been killed in the line of duty, including 136 officers during 2023. And whereas events are often held to honor the men and women who have died in the line of duty to protect and serve. And whereas the men and women of the Springdale Police Department unceasingly provide a vital public service by safeguarding the lives and property of their fellow citizens. And whereas, by the law enforcement of our laws, these same officers have given our country, state, and city internal freedom from fear of violence and civil disorder that is presently affecting other nations. And whereas the administration joins in this special tribute to acknowledge all officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice, their lives, in defense of all citizens, including Springdale police officer Kaya Grant, who was killed in the line of duty on March 21st of 2020 while protecting the citizens of Springdale. Now therefore, I, Lawrence C. Hawkins III, Mayor of the City of Springdale, do hereby proclaim the week of May 12th through May 18th, 2024 as Police Week. Chief, come forward.
Spill Mountain Dew and the lights go off. Quite a flash on that camera.
I don't have enough makeup on my forehead for that.
Thank you, Mr. President.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Nice ambiance.
Somehow the city engineer became our lighting engineer, somewhere in the middle there. All right. We moved on to communications. Ms. Bowder, any communications for council this evening?
Thank you, Mr. President. No communications.
All right. Next, we have communications from the audience. If anyone would like to address council for any reason, you would just simply come up to the podium. Be sure to sign in, state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes to speak to council on any item that concerns us.
All right. I'll fill that out. It's John Myers. I live at the crossings of Springdale. Have for 44 years. I'll put a phone number down here, but the reason I'm here tonight is I had sent a copy of a letter to Jeff Agrigola. I sent it to 4 people who are here tonight. And because I live at the crossings, I have to go north on Route 4 to Springdale and Ray Norris Drive and turn left and go up the hill to go home. And for about 30 years, we could turn left when there was no traffic coming southbound to hit us. Then they redid that intersection and did away with the left-hand turn. Now there was a red arrow, and you cannot turn until that red arrow turns green. Then I was over at Alterations of Springdale on Montgomery Road, and when I came out and crossed over 275, I wanted to turn left to go west home. There was a red arrow. Thought nothing of it. Do that all the time. But their red arrow then flashed amber. The reason it flashed amber is you could turn left if there was no traffic that you were going to hit. And I thought, well, why come we can't have that? But before the intersection was modified the last time, what was that, 8 or 9 months ago? Jeff told me that that was impossible. It's called a permissive turn, and we're not allowed to have a permissive turn. Well, it looked like a permissive turn to me on Montgomery Road. So the big question is, why not? And you know, we did it for years. We can't do it now. When there's no traffic, let me explain. If there's no traffic coming out of Crescentville, turning southbound, sorry, I probably should have talked in this. If there's no traffic coming out of Crescentville, turning left, they have red lights, they're stopped, and then traffic is gonna go northbound and southbound, and if it's 9 o'clock at night, they're there's not a lot of traffic sometimes, and it's pretty easy to make a left-hand turn on the Ray Norrish. And Mr. Vanover brought up, well, maybe you can't see the people coming out of Ray Norrish. If you check it out, you can see at least 3 cars if they're waiting to come down Ray Norrish and do something. And they can turn right on red, which is me. I do it all the time. But I see no reason why we can't expedite the traffic for a very minimal cost. Well, that's a detail I won't get into. I'm in a rush. Anyway, it sounds to me like Agricola's retiring. Guy named Huxell, I'm told, is going to take his place. Maybe rather than bother you guys with this incident, I ought to get a hold of Huxell and see if he would agree that we're not against the law if we have an amber arrow pointing left, like they have on Montgomery Road. That's all I got.
All right. Well, I'm not. I
Any
did receive.
questions?
I did receive the letter you spoke of. I know permissive lefts. The rules are different depending on the type of road that you're on, which might be why you're seeing that difference. The left turn on Route 4 might be different than what you saw over in Montgomery. So the reason it's different might be the type of road. But I would defer to administration or our city engineer that might need to get back with our. I'm not sure what's the best way to deal with this question, Mr. Riggs.
Sure, yeah, I'll talk to the city traffic engineer. I've seen some correspondence over the last few weeks, months even, about this incident. And from my understanding that it's not allowed by law in this situation, and I know the traffic operations engineer, which is the city traffic engineer, is not supportive of this movement. And it may be because of safety reasons. There may have been some history, accident history that actually suggests that it shouldn't be permissive. Besides just the law. So I'll get with him to confirm the exact reason. I'm sure there's some documentation as to why, but I'll follow up with him.
All right.
Sir, so if you could just make sure your address is there, that way they know how to get back in touch with you. If you make sure your phone number or address is written
Yes,
down,
I'll have
that way
it.
someone can get back to you. All right?
Yeah, maybe we ought to talk to Montgomery and find out how they're getting by with it, you know?
That could be an option, yeah. Like, again, I don't know the
Yeah.
situation or the rules exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Ed does.
No, I just found the other day in my files a reply from Agricola about a year ago
Yeah.
stating the particular rule that he was concerned about. And I'm not a lawyer, but it didn't look to me like it had anything to do with this.
Well, I know in this situation, you have dual left turns going eastbound on Route 4. So southbound to eastbound Crescentville, you have dual lefts. Then in a situation where northbound to westbound Ray Norrish is only a single left. So that because that dual lefts, that may complicate the issues. Sight distance, because there's an offset left too, that may be another reason. So I'll follow up.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure as to why. But.
Yeah, when you're trying to turn left onto Ray Norrish, there's no left turns out of a Ray Norrish.
Right.
There's a right on red, that's it.
Yeah. And
Okay. Should I get a hold of Huxell?
no, I think you can, sir, I think they've got the question, and if your contact information is here, administration will follow back up with you and get you a better answer instead of reaching back out to Mr. Huxell. It sounds like we're not going to be able to answer that question tonight. It's a very specific question.
Yeah.
But make sure your contact information is down, and they'll get back with you. All right?
All right, thank you.
Great. All right, communications from the audience is still open if anyone else would like to address council for any reason. Second call. Third and final call. All right, I'm closing communications from the audience. Next, we'll move on to ordinances and resolutions. First up, we have ordinance 18-2024. This is a second reading that we can act on tonight. Mr. Jacobs, when you're ready.
Ordinance number 18-2024, an ordinance declaring certain city property as surplus property and authorizing the sale, disposal, or transfer of surplus property. Whereas council has determined that certain property of the city is no longer needed by the city for municipal purposes or useful as such, absolutely or temporarily. Now therefore be it ordained by the council of the city of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1, consistent with Article 8, Section C3 of the Charter of the City, and as permitted by Ohio Revised Code Section 721.15, the items listed on the attached Exhibit A owned by the city are hereby declared to be surplus property, no longer needed for municipal purposes or useful as such, absolutely or temporarily, and that such property may be sold by internet auction or otherwise, transferred or disposed of by the city. Section 2, that the city administrator is hereby authorized to dispose of said property in the manner specified herein. Section 3, council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this legislation were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and of its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 4, this ordinance shall take effect on the earliest date allowed by law.
Council, you've heard the reading of ordinance 18-2024. It is a second reading. It can be acted on tonight. What is your pleasure?
Move to adopt.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, Ms. Browder, if you poll council.
Ms. Sullivan Meiskov.
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs.
Aye.
Mr. Gleaves.
Aye.
Mrs. Webster. Ms. McFarland.
Aye.
Mr. Vanover.
Aye.
Mr. Anderson.
Aye. Ordinance 18-2024 is approved with 7 affirmative votes. All right, next we have ordinance 19-2024. This does have the emergency clause attached. Mr. Jacobs, when you're ready.
Ordinance number 19-2024, an ordinance authorizing the payment of funds to the Ohio Department of Transportation for the Northland Boulevard Reconstruction Project and declaring an emergency. Whereas on February 1st, 2023, Council of the City of Springdale adopted ordinance number 9-2023 proposing to cooperate with the State of Ohio Department of Transportation, ODOT, for the Northland Boulevard Reconstruction Project, and whereas the project consists of improvements to Northland Boulevard, CR 614, from the west city limit near Springfield Pike, State Route 4 to West Kemper Road, including excavation, embankment, soil stabilization, sidewalk, curbs, curb and gutter, curb ramps, drainage, pavement, traffic signal upgrades, signage, pavement markings, and sewer and water upgrades lying within the city of Springdale, the city. And whereas the city agrees to assume and bear 100% of the entire cost of the improvements associated with the project within city limits, less the amount of federal aid funds set aside by the Director of Transportation for the financing of the improvement from funds allocated by the Federal Highway Administration, U.S. Department of Transportation, and whereas the city agrees and understands its share of the project is now $3,460,281, less Ohio Public Works Commission funds in the amount of $1,170,627, leaving a balance of $2,289,654. But this estimated amount is to be adjusted in order that the city's ultimate share of the improvements associated with the project shall correspond with the percentages of actual costs when they are determined. And whereas ODOT has approved legislation proposing cooperation and has caused plans and specifications as well as an estimate of the cost and expense to be made for the project, and has transmitted copies of the same to the city. And whereas the city desires ODOT to proceed with the project, now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1, that the estimated sum of $2,289,654 is hereby appropriated for the Northland Boulevard Reconstruction Project, and the finance officer is hereby authorized to pay this amount to ODOT for expenses associated with this project. Section 2, that the city hereby agrees to assume its share of the cost and expenses over and above the amount to be paid from federal funds associated with the project. Section 3, that the city hereby requests ODOT to proceed with the project. Section 4, that the mayor and city administrator are hereby authorized to enter into a contract with ODOT for the project. Section 5, that the city will deliver to ODOT a fully executed copy of this ordinance. Section 6, that the council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this ordinance were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and of its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 7, this ordinance shall take effect on the earliest date allowed by law. Section 8, that this ordinance shall be an emergency measure necessary for the preservation of the public peace, health, safety, and general welfare, and shall, subject to the terms of Article 2D3D of the Charter, be effective immediately. The reason for the emergency is the need to expedite the appropriate documents in accordance with ODOT's schedule for the project.
Council, you've heard the reading of ordinance 19-2024. It has the emergency clause and can be acted on tonight. What is your pleasure?
Move to adopt.
Moved and seconded. Questions or discussion? All right, seeing none. Ms. Browder, if you poll council.
Ms. Sullivan Wisecup?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Vanover?
Aye.
Mrs. Webster? Mr. Gleaves?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye. Ordinance 19, 2024 is approved with 7 affirmative votes. All right, moving on to Resolution R6, 2024.
Resolution number R6, 2024, resolution authorizing the City of Springdale's participation in the Ohio Association of Public Treasurers 2025 Workers' Compensation Group Retrospective Rating Program. Whereas, under the authority of Chapter 4123 of the Ohio Revised Code, employers, including public employer taxing districts, may group together to achieve a potentially lower premium rate than they might have as individual employers. And whereas the Ohio Association of Public Treasurers has created a workers' compensation group retrospective rating program to allow member municipalities to join together for that purpose. And whereas through its participation in this group retrospective rating program, the City of Springdale will have greater opportunity to potentially experience savings in workers' compensation premium rates. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Springdale, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1, that the City of Springdale hereby enrolls in the 2025 Workers' Compensation Group Retrospective Rating Program offered by the Ohio Public Treasurers Association and authorizes the City Administrator to execute any and all documents consistent with the enrollment in this program. Section 2, that the Finance Officer is authorized to pay the projected premium and any third-party administrative fees related to the City's participation in the Workers' Compensation Group Retrospective Rating Program. Section 3, that this council hereby finds and determines that all formal actions relative to the passage of this legislation were taken in an open meeting of this council, and that all deliberations of this council and of its committees, if any, which resulted in formal action were taken in meetings open to the public in full compliance with applicable legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code. Section 4, this resolution shall take effect on the earliest date allowed by law.
Council, you've heard the reading of Resolution R6, 2024. As a resolution, it can be acted on tonight. What is your pleasure?
Move to adopt. Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Browder, if you poll council.
Mr. Vanover?
Aye.
Mr. Gleaves?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Ms. Sullivan Wisecup?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mrs. Webster?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye. Resolution R6, 2024 is approved with 7 affirmative votes. All right, next we're moving on to old business. Is there any old business that council would like to bring forward? Mr. Vanover.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rental Committee met April 24th, and we're coming to council with a recommendation that we initiate a traffic study for the possibility of looking at making Ledrow one-way, and we'd like to get our numbers in. Anybody that's been over in that neighborhood knows that the headache that the traffic is there. So I'm asking for council's concurrence to initiate this traffic study.
All right, so there's a motion to have council agree, and in this case, it would be to ask administration to conduct or contract with our existing traffic engineers to do a study that Mr. Vanover discussed related to Ledrow. There's estimated costs, I believe, that we have a ballpark of in the $5,000 to $10,000 range, so it's within the authority of administration and inside of an existing contract. So we don't believe that a separate resolution is required, just a simple concurrence. So we'll do a vote, assuming that somebody seconds the motion. That would be what we're asking for, is to direct administration to do that. So is there a second for that?
Second.
All right. Are there any questions or discussion about the request? All right, seeing none. Ms. Potter, if you poll council, just so we formally can have concurrence on the vote on that.
Vanover?
Aye.
Mrs. Sullivan Wisecup?
Aye.
Mrs. Webster?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Gleaves?
Aye.
Ms. McFarland?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye. So with that, we have concurrence to direct administration to do that. Thank you, council, for that. Mr. Vanover, did you have another comment on that?
Not another comment, actually. I have something else. This is something that rolled out about probably 3 months ago, and I've been playing with it. It's called Hefty Renew. It's a additional recycle program. We've been doing it ourselves, and basically it picks up the foam clamshells, plastic food bags, all the only difference with that is there are orange bags that you can sign up and get a starter kit. You can buy the bags at, we got it with Myers, Kroger's. It's like $4 or $5 for, you know, a box of them. And basically just stuff this stuff in there, and you just take it down to the curb in that orange bag, and they take out. So it's stuff that Recycle had not touched before. I've got a copy of the flyer if somebody wants to see all all of it. But evident, you know, what we know, well, we've been told what drives the Recycle program is finding an end customer for that. So evidently, they now have a customer that will take it, and I'm all for something, and it's not anything hard to do. It's a simple thing.
Great. All right. Any other old business for council tonight? New business? Is there anyone on council would like to bring forward new business? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to meetings and announcements. Ms. Sullivan-Weiskamp.
Thank you, Mr. President. Planning Commission will meet in these chambers on Tuesday, May 14th at 7 p.m.
Ms. McFarland.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board of Health will meet May 9th in the room next to Chambers.
Mr. Yule.
Thank you, Mr. President. Civil Service Commission will meet tomorrow, Thursday, May 2nd, 2 p.m., council conference room.
Mr. Gleaves.
Thank you, Mr. President. The BZA meeting was scheduled for April 23rd, was canceled. The next scheduled meeting is May 28th in these chambers. Thank you.
All right, I think that's at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock meeting.
7 o'clock.
All right, Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple quick things. City buildings other than safety services will be closed on May 27th in observance of Memorial Day. Reminder that our pool does open at noon on May 24th, and the swimming pool will be open on Memorial Day, even though the rec center will not be. Thank you.
And we're fully staffed, ready to go for the pool? I know I've got some questions. Sounds like SwimSafe's doing a great job. Great. All right, any other meetings and announcements? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to a recap of, oh, I'm sorry, we skipped a second option for communications from the audience. If anyone in the audience would like to address council for any reason, this is your chance. Again, you just come up to the podium, be sure to sign in, and you'll have up to 5 minutes to address council.
Hello, everybody. My name is Cole Spradlin. I live on 870 York Haven. So first of all, I do want to say it is National Interpreter Appreciation Day. So I know we generally do not have a sign language interpreter in here, but they do play an important role for communication, so I just want to thank them for all that they do. Also, for those who frequent the pool, according to the city website, Mr. Jones, it says the 25th, not the 24th for pool opening day. So, I just want to say I'm excited to see you all there. I decided to come back, so this will be my 4th year at the pool. I'm also now head lifeguard. I also hope to continue teaching swim lessons. Also, I do want to thank Chief Butler and the police department for all that they do. You guys are an important part of this community, and I'd also like to thank them for hiding by the stop signs up in Beacon Hills, because as Ms. McFarland knows, they love to run those, and I've seen less and less people do that. I also thank them for pulling me over a year ago for doing that. So anyway, that's all I have.
Mr. Vanover might have a comment for you. Mr. Vanover.
Thank you, Mr. President. As far as the interpreter goes, we have services available that if we know in advance that we can have that here. We've had that option for a year or better now. So if that is so needed and desired, we can do that.
Yeah, that's a great point, Mr. Vanover. So if anyone does need that and wants to come to council meeting, just be sure to reach out to administration or anyone on council, and we can make sure that that service is available to you. You just make sure you give us enough time to get somebody out here. I think 48 hours is what we've asked for in the past. Ms. Sullivan-Weiskamp.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was just going to say the same thing. I was recently concluded the advanced Citizens Police Academy thing that we do, and we had two deaf individuals in our class, and they were also in my class 2 years ago when we did the original Citizens Police Academy, and we had two phenomenal interpreters there, and they came both times to both sessions, so I know that we have the capability if we need them, and we have, if we use the same ones, we have a great group set up. Thanks.
All right. We're still in communications from the audience. If anyone else would like to address council, the podium is available. Second call. Third and final call. And closing communications from the audience. Oh, it's going to beep. Thank you. All right. Next, we'll move to a recap of legislative items and legislation in development. Mr. Jacobs, when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you review your internal memorandum, item 1 was addressed by ordinance number 18, 2024, an ordinance declaring certain city property as surplus property and authorizing the sale, disposal, or transfer of surplus property, and that was approved with 7 affirmative votes. Item 2 was addressed by ordinance number 19, 2024, an ordinance authorizing the payment of funds to the Ohio Department of Transportation for the Northland Boulevard Reconstruction Project and declaring an emergency. That too was approved with 7 affirmative votes. Item 3 was addressed by Resolution 06, 2024, a single reading, a resolution authorizing the City of Springdale's participation in the Ohio Association of Public Treasurers 2025 Workers' Compensation Group Retrospective Rating Program. That was approved with 7 affirmative votes. There was also the rental committee requested council to react to the idea of initiating a traffic study in regards to converting Ledrow to a one-way street, and council gave 7 affirmative votes for that. Unless there's anything else from the administration.
Council, you good? All right. All we have left before us is item 15.
Move to adjourn.
All right. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.